Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Wednesday, November 10th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Moore. The Purdue game is in 3 days. The game against Michigan in 17 days. The Buckeyes are back into their usual midweek routine as they prepare for that showdown with the Boilermakers. That routine includes a Tuesday press conference with Ryan Day, an assistant coach, and usually a couple of players. Today, you're going to hear from Ryan Day about the status of the offense, where things stand with a couple of backup quarterbacks, what running back Trevian Henderson needs to do to continue to improve, whether CJ Stroud needs to run the ball more, and much more than that. We're going to start with a question that a lot of fans have been asking. Is this team taking enough deep shots in the passing game? Now, you'll hear from Day right now, and all of these clips are courtesy of the Ohio State University Athletic Department.
I thought the questions today were going to be, are we throwing the ball too far down the field? So that one caught me off guard. No, I think we just have to be smart when the shots are there. Then we have to take them. I thought in that spot, the reason I thought he did a great job was he kind of threw it where only Chris could catch it. He didn't put it at risk. And then later on, the interception, we just forced it down the field. Throw the ball down the field late is not good. But I think we throw the ball down the field and as aggressive as anybody in the country.
Here's another question you've probably heard a lot recently and maybe been asking yourself as well. Should CJ Stroud be running the ball more? Day was asked about that in several different ways on Tuesday. I'm going to play 3 of his answers back to back to back to give you a better idea kind of on the whole picture of his thinking about this.
No. I mean, it's hard to tell somebody what to do in those situations because when you do, it won't be the same situation as it was the next time. And so you have to trust your instincts. And I think he's doing a very good job of that. He keeps his eyes upfield. I think there are times where, if he can make 3 or 4 yards and keep us on schedule, then he can do that. He's done that before. And that's just part of playing the game and getting a feel for it and managing the game. There's times where he's skated and extended routes and pushed the ball down the field and made some really good throws as well. So that's just feeling the game and understanding where we are in the game. But keeping us on schedule again is something that we're really hitting on this week. Oh, he's very competitive and he can run. I mean, you've seen him do it before, and he'll continue to do it. It's just, in game and finding the right time to go, duck your head in there for 4 or 5. He did a nice job in the red zone. He pulled one on, I think it was 3rd down and 4, pulled it, made like 6. Really well done. And then I think there was a couple other ones that maybe he, you'd have to ask him if he thought maybe, he should have made 3 or 4 more yards. But that's all part of playing the position. And I played the position, so I know it's not easy, and you can tell somebody what to do in the moment, but you have to trust your instincts. But I think the more he plays, the better he's going to feel in those spots and the more confident he'll be. Guys have run here before, and when it's appropriate, we do. But, also it's clear that, we don't run it as much as some of the other places, and I tell people that in recruiting, we're not going to come here and just, run you into the ground and get you hurt. And, it's a long season, and we got really good players on offense. And so, when the time is right and we need to do it, and we got to do it. But at the same time, putting our guys at risk for a long season is not something we do here, and I believe strongly in that. And the quarterback position is a very important position. But to your point, there's times where you got to get it done. We got to get it done.
True freshman Quinn Ewers has still not taken a single snap at Ohio State, but he is a very hot topic nonetheless. Ewers was the 4th-string quarterback until Jack Miller got arrested for OVI last Friday and suspended from the team. Day said Tuesday that Miller's suspension would continue indefinitely as they gather more information about the case, which means that Ewers will probably get a few extra reps during practice as the 3rd-string guy now. There have been a lot of rumors swirling about Ewers and how things are going for him since he's arrived in Columbus. For his part, Day has consistently tried to tamp down expectations for the freshman, but his answer on Tuesday was a little bit more hopeful in terms of how things seem to be going for Ewers.
Yeah, no, he's making progress. He's, I thought coming off of the bye, he's been working hard and getting better. He's starting to you just look more comfortable walking around the facility, and he's starting to pick up the offense. It's taken a little time for him to pick up the offense, but that's because he just got thrown into it. Didn't have a spring ball, didn't have a preseason. There's a lot to it, and it's hard when you don't get a ton of reps. But he's getting more reps now, and I think you're starting to see him feel more comfortable around the team.
A lot of head coaches will kind of sit on the sidelines in recruiting until fairly late in the process, and then they'll just kind of try and swoop in at the end and close the deal. Day has chosen to take a bigger role in recruiting than that, however, since becoming the head coach. So why does he want to do that?
Well, I think at the end of the day, things happen in college football where we've been very fortunate. We've had stability here for a long time, and coaches who have done a great job and have been here for a while. So that's great. I think that's a huge selling point. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, in my opinion, the head coach and the culture that's being cultivated here, and what's the vision? Because somewhere along the line, coaches do come and go. Hopefully, we want all of our guys to stay for the next 15, 20 years. But at the end of the day, when that happens, who's the head coach and what's the culture going to be? Because that's going to stay consistent. And so I just think that that's important in recruiting. And like you said about the different philosophies, I really put it in their court. If you want to do this, if you want to be an Ohio State Buckeye, then let's do this. But it has to come from the recruit and their family. Like you said, closing guys out anymore, to me, doesn't really exist. Certainly you have to make a decision. And at that point, you got to make a great sell for your university and your program. But if they don't like it, then they turn around and go somewhere else. So they have to want it. They have to want to be here. They have to want to work through tough times and own it and have ownership of their university. And so I just think that recruiting nuance right there is changed in the last few years.
There's been a lot of questioning of the Buckeyes' reliance on the pass over the last couple weeks. Day has even brought that up himself in the past. But he says sometimes it's not a matter of what they want to do, but what the defense is giving them. He was actually asked a similar question a little later on as well. So I'm going to let you hear about those back to back. He's going to talk about RPOs, and he's also going to talk about screens and how they use those in the running game as well.
I think when you look at the called plays, they're not always passes. Some of them are run-pass options. And if they loaded up the box, I think one of the things that, when you look at the landscape of college football right now, where defenses and offenses are, I've really been thinking about this the last couple of weeks. When you have three receivers in the game, defenses have been seeing these type of formations and these spread offenses now for a few years. And so a lot of times there's an extra guy down. Now, how are you going to handle the extra guy? And you can do it a couple different ways. But, Nebraska certainly had an extra guy down a good portion of the game. And so you saw a lot of, RPO stuff where we were, sticking it in there and throwing the ball out. Those were called runs. But when they put another guy in there, we have to spread out the field. Now, we could also get into bigger personnel and just try to run over the extra guy, and that's part of it. But so to answer your question, I think it's a little bit of both. I think, yes, we can spread the runs around. CJ having a few carries is a good thing. Usually not designed. Usually if we're reading that extra guy and he's pulling it. Sometimes that extra guy just says hand it off, and you do. But then also having Master involved, Mayan involved, and getting those guys, some of those carries will be part of it as well. And it isn't always going to be that way. Sometimes what you do is you do what you think gives you the best chance to win the game. And if somebody's saying, hey, we're going to put all these guys extra in the box, you got to throw it. If they start to put a two shell on it, like some teams have done, then we run it a little bit more. So that's part of it as well. Some of that is the play call. Some of it is the decision of the quarterback to either hand it off or throw it, because that's part of the decision. Well, I don't know what people think, but I can tell you that's the way we look at it. We try to make them, stretch out, cover the entire field. And if that means throwing a screen pass to Chris Olave or Jackson Smith or Garrett or somebody on the edge in the perimeter, or even, to Trevian, we look at that as we call it a long handoff. And it's just, it's a way to get them out in space. And if they make 4 or 5 yards, then that's an efficient play for us. Although on the stat sheet, sometimes it shows as a pass. That's kind of how we look at it. It's part of the run game.
After jumping out to an absolutely insane start at the beginning of the year, averaging 8 or 9 yards per carry in some games, Trevian Henderson's numbers have come back to earth a little bit recently. So is Day happy with how he's running, even if it isn't leading to big numbers?
I think he's running hard, and that's good. And then he needs to continue to run hard, like you said. And there's times where, you need to make a guy miss. There's times where you got to make a hard, ugly 3-4 and turn that into 5 and 6. And he's an excellent running back. He's learning. He's getting stronger. Certainly taking care of the football is critically important. And he's going to have to do that again this week. But I've been impressed with how he's been able to handle the amount of carries. Whether we have that happen again this week or not, we'll see. We certainly would like to see them split up a little bit. It's a lot to ask for a young player, but we're getting some of the other guys back that are in that room, and so but been impressed with how he's been working at it. And the run game this week is obviously something we're going to continually work on and try to figure out how to be more efficient in those areas and make sure that we are efficient in our run game. We're getting 4 yards or more on all of our runs, which keeps us on schedule, which is something that's a huge focus this week.
Jackson Smith and Jigba set a school record for receptions in a single game on Saturday. And, wide receiver is a position known for guys who like to let you know just how great they are. Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco, this tradition goes back a little ways. So it wouldn't exactly be shocking if Jackson Smith-Njigba or one of the Buckeyes' other receivers maybe got a big head. But after a record-setting day, Smith-Njigba really didn't want to talk about himself after the game on Saturday. So, Day said it's kind of remarkable, but the, big-headed, brash receiver, that's really just not a thing that's happening in Brian Hartland's room or really, for the most part, anywhere else on the team.
I just think that that's what this place is all about. And to hear you talk about a receiver who, caught for over 200 yards and played one of the better games here in a long time, not want to talk about himself. I mean, what a tribute to who he is and this team and the unselfishness across the board, because we have a lot of good players on offense, and Jackson didn't always get the ball. You got Garrett, you got Chris, you got Ruck, you got Trevian, and so you never heard a word out of Jackson. And all of a sudden now he's starting to show up in big games, and so. But it's the same thing with Chris. It's the same thing with Garrett, and that's a huge part of being a winning team. And we can be a bunch of individuals, or we can be a great team. The only way we're going to win a championship is if we're a great team, and the only way you're a great team is if you're unselfish and you talk about your teammates. And in the end, it all comes back to you in the end. That's just how it works. But to your point, you don't always see that. Families don't always see that. Parents don't always see that. But he obviously has. He's have a mature approach to this thing, and it says a lot about who he is. But he's not the only one. There's a bunch of guys like that on our team, and just proud that these guys take that approach.
There is obviously a whole lot that we didn't talk about in this show, such as the defense, previewing Purdue, and a lot more than that. So good news, you're getting another one of these a little later on in the week. There was a ton to talk about on Tuesday, and we do tend to try and keep these shows at a reasonable length for you. So you'll get to hear from Kevin Wilson, who is obviously one of our favorite interviews of anyone in the Ohio State program. Always a great interview. You'll get to hear from him a little later on in the week. Probably a little more from Day on the defense, and a little bit of a preview from Purdue, maybe a couple players as well. We'll see what we have time for, but that'll be coming up a little later on this week. You may also be wondering, hey, why isn't he talking about the college football playoff show from last night? Well, the answer is that playoff show aired much later than normal. So you will, if you want to get that, you can listen to the episode of Buckeye Weekly, the live episode of Buckeye Weekly that Tony Gerdeman and Kevin Noonan and I dropped last night as that show was airing. So what you can just search for Buckeye Weekly on wherever you get this show, just search for that, or just check the Buckeye Scoop YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Look for that show. Every week we do a live reaction to the rankings, where Ohio State is, who's moved up, who's moved down, what it all means in the big picture, and what it means moving forward as we head into what should be a really, really crazy final month or so of the college football regular season and championship games. Should be a lot of fun. So make sure you check out Buckeye Weekly on whatever podcast platform you get the morning scoop on, and also subscribe at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.